Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year were confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all notice of this meeting by Resolution 19-52 has been sent to the record. The Suburbanite and Northern Valley Press has been posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and the Borough website. Once again, we have a combined meeting, a work session followed by a public meeting, and the public will have an opportunity to speak at the beginning of the public meeting. So the first item on the agenda is we're going to revisit the salary request from the director of our recreation department.
I think that there's an overall conversation on the budget besides that. That's what we are correct?
That's part of it.
I have some other additional
Part of it,
conversation.
and Susan will go over the changes that have taken
Yeah.
place from the budget meetings and where we stand now, and then the borrowing details will be reviewed with our bond counsel, Jacob Dizzy. Our borough auditor could not make it today because all these changes had to be implemented, and between Saturday and today is not enough time.
He doesn't work Sunday?
No.
Oh.
Paul Lurch will be here
See?
on March 26th. And the one thing we just need to know is, do you want to start at the regular time, 7:30? Do you want to start at 7, 6:30?
About 6 o'clock is fine, because I'm not.
You're not
gonna be-
here.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have a,
6
you don't have a
o'clock.
say.
6:30 or 7. I think we should start early.
You're not going to be here?
No.
So let's start at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, 9, whatever. I was trying
Yeah, I
to
want
make
to go
it.
home at a decent hour.
All right, so
6:30?
I'll go for 6:30, so.
Okay.
6:30?
Thank
Okay.
you, thank
that's
you.
on the
You said over
26th.
Yeah, so because we have to do a sunshine notice for 6:30.
And then I'll tell him.
Yeah, so Paul's on.
Where are you going to be this time, Max? Huh?
China.
China? Really?
Yeah.
Well, and
He's
we
gonna
thought relations
negotiate.
couldn't get any worse.
That's right. When things are bad, I'm
What are we
there.
getting back? I mean, what, is Trump
The
arranged
second.
this trade? We're going to give you the China and get something back?
He's the cleanup crew.
No,
All right.
it's just gonna go worse and
All right,
worse.
so how do you want to handle this, Lisette?
I give the floor to Susan.
All right, Susan, the floor is yours, and let's do it as well.
Okay, so
We're
I
talking.
incorporated.
You want to slide over and sit next to me here? I'll move over to the left.
Okay.
Didn't Dan just come in? Yeah, he did.
You have the form?
Yeah, I have it over here. Well, I have it here, yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'm going to ask that we talk one person at a time, no crosstalk, so everybody can hear what's being said. If you need to be heard, just raise your hand, you'll be recognized. Susan?
Okay, so I gave out the revenue summary, and basically the revenue stayed the same as the last handout, with the exception of the cost to operate the budget. So through our budget hearings, the operating budget was reduced by $73,745.
There we go. We did something good.
Can you say that number again one more time?
73745.
73745. Thank you.
Right, originally we had it at 137,118 when Lizette and I had first started. So that was a savings before. So with that being said, our municipal tax rate is now 1.6 instead of 1.8. 1.8 instead of what was it at? 1.
Nine.
No, 1. Let me see, 1.6. Sorry.
That's
The municipal
that's
tax
the increase,
increase.
It's not the rate.
It's the municipal tax increase is 1.6.
Rate increase, yes, not the rate. The rate would be point, let's see, yeah,
1.2.
.602, which is a $54 increase for the average
No,
household.
It's a $54 increase on the average
Household,
household. Well,
Right.
that's something.
okay,
I want people to understand what you're saying.
okay. Let's see. I also revised, that's really where we're at with this. I also revised the capital. If you want me to hand it out now, I will.
Yes,
We're gonna
please.
talk
Yeah.
about
No
it.
time like to be
Yeah.
present. And people have to understand, not necessarily the people at this table, but anybody that's listening to this meeting has to understand that this is just part of your tax bill.
Right.
You also got the
Right.
county part, and the big part is the Board of Education. But we're talking about the numbers for the municipal part of the tax bill,
Sir.
which is approximately about 1/3 of the total bill, approximately.
Okay.
Put this one. Give them
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
So with our capital plan, when Lizette and I first started, we had originally reduced it by $1.4 million, almost 1.5. Right now, we're at 3.389 million. We have enough money in our operating for the down payments.
Perfect.
We have that at $190,000. There's one recommendation that I would like to make if the governing body would like to approve it, and that is, I think we should put street lights in here. I reviewed the street lights, we added $10,000 to the police operating budget, and street lighting, the control boxes to be replaced, they are a capital item.
When you say
Which we
control
put-
boxes, are you talking about
The repair of
traffic
the
lights?
traffic
Not
lights.
street lights, traffic
Well, I
lights?
call them
Well, the
street
street lights are,
Okay.
Yeah, so what we put in the operating, we can take it out of the operating, because we added $10,000 in the operating
Yes.
system.
I
for
think you
that.
can take it out of the operating.
We take it out and we put it in the capital.
Well, I think you need a little more than 10 based
we
on
had-
what I saw.
But what I'm saying, we taking out,
Yes,
Again,
$10,000.
we taking out of the operating and we put it in the capital.
Yes.
now how much would you
The
like?
bond master said it's okay.
How much would you like to put into the capital?
I think 25 would be really good, and 20 would be at the minimum.
Yes.
I thought we had 10 in the budget and then we added an additional 10.
Exactly.
Right,
We had
Make it
10,
but
we
there's
had-
maintenance that is in the budget already that has to stay there. They have to pay for maintenance. Last year was like 7,600, and then they had another 256. That's not part of capital.
So you want 20 on top of the 10 in the operating?
Yeah, because last year we spent over 30-something thousand
Well,
dollars.
did we add, we originally put 10 in maintenance.
We
and
added
oper-
10.
We added 10, so we're gonna subtract 10
Yeah.
from the operating, which leaves 10 remaining.
Right.
And we're
That's
gonna
right. That
put
has to stay.
25
In the capital.
in the capital. Was there anything in capital at all in this category?
No.
No,
Okay.
there is not.
But I think that's wise because our traffic lights are getting older, and we all know how expensive it is.
And
rather than
and
go fishing,
if we don't use that,
it goes
we
back.
can use it, and we can use them for flashing lights.
Well,
Twinkly
Well, you
Not- not
can't
when it's
use
in
it for
capital,
a
you can't.
different project. You have the bond capital.
That's why I said, because we have the vodka.
Making me cringe over here.
That's right, exactly,
Unless we
trying
set it up,
to
you
drive
know,
you nuts.
you know.
Okay.
Okay, now,
And
the
and I
other
can
thing
say
is,
cured it.
the other item is, we had originally taken out the clay in,
For the infield
for the infield, the 5,500.
at Sunnyside.
Right, that would have a useful life of, I guess, maybe, was it 5 years for the clay or longer?
We could describe it as part of a park improvement.
Right,
It could be a little bit longer.
I
Que-
think that
Question
should
before we
stay.
go any further. If it's a park improvement, can we use open space?
That's a
Well,
question
I
for the
think
council.
Yeah.
Well, no. Before council decides whether we do it or not, we have to make a decision as to whether it's
Well, yeah,
eligible.
Recreation.
Yeah, it's,
It-
well, it's.
Our-
That's all.
You know, I mean, it's silly to make a decision if it's not you say it's eligible.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So we have a choice between, Jeff, we have a choice between putting that in
Right, no, I
capital
agree.
or
Or
open
open
space.
space.
How do
I
you
agree.
feel, how do you feel about it?
I'd prefer to put in capital personally.
Max,
The same.
Manu?
In capital.
Okay, so put it in capital.
Okay, and that's really, I think everything else.
How urgent is this?
Okay, so now,
Once you have three
Baseball.
votes,
Ongoing.
he's trying to save time.
Is that what it is?
You don't count any.
I was okay with capital also, so, sorry, Peter, go ahead.
So then the
It's no problem.
so far, the only open space item will be to fund the Roosevelt Monument project, and
Which is
we're,
a matching.
which is a matching
Yeah.
grant, which will be
86,000.
reimbursed about 62 or 64,000. And we're still, trying to figure out what to do with the balance of Aresco Park and waiting for quotes on that.
Yeah,
I have another capital question.
Please.
This one's kind of for Bob Colbert. I know we had debated in the DPW budget for lighting in the downtown area for the evenings. Do you have any quotes on that?
60,000,
And that would include what?
just putting lights in the trees.
Where?
Just to put
Where?
twinkly lights in our downtown trees.
Where?
On
Washington Street?
Washington Avenue,
West
between
Railroad?
West Railroad and and Tenafly Road.
So it doesn't include the parking.
And there's no other options that are significantly less.
Well, that doesn't include upgrading the electrical.
We have to upgrade the electric that's there now. A lot of the
It's probably not that
outlets are missing or don't work, so there's more to it than just putting the lights in the trees.
So
It grows into a larger project.
we're trying to make the downtown brighter.
Yes,
So the question I have for you is, these lights are not LEDs,
Oh,
correct?
okay.
The existing ones are not.
Are we switching?
You mean the streetlights?
Yeah.
No.
Are we switching to LEDs?
You can't just switch, you have to change the whole head and all the guts. It's not just a bulb change.
Well, let me,
All the drivers
let
have
me
to
ask
be
you a
replaced.
question when you, after you give the answer, I want the council to hear. Are LEDs brighter?
Yeah.
Are they more maintenance-free?
They can be.
Okay, do they have a longer life?
They do. They definitely do.
Would it make sense from an economic standpoint to switch? I mean, what I'm leading
Yeah.
up to is if it's gonna be expensive, maybe we do just Washington Street or West Railroad one this year and put LEDs in, because, you know, all we're doing is replacing old lights with new old lights.
no, we don't, no, those are put lights in the trees and have
Like
Like
Christmas
an
sort of
lights.
decorative?
ambiance.
decorative,
An
yeah, to make the lights
Christmas lights,
downtown
but one
look
color.
better.
Do-
An ambiance,
I-
a reason to come to the stores and
Do we-
come out for dinner.
Well, a couple things. First of all, do we have the trees that can carry that?
Yes.
And second
Yes.
of all, it's nice to talk about bringing people downtown in the evening, but none of the stores are open in the evening.
The restaurants and the
The
movies are.
restaurants, we give the people a chance to come. It's like almost building and they will come.
Jeff, and then Mark, please, and then Lauren again.
Bob, in an earlier conversation, didn't at one point you say there is some contractor that puts up certain decorative lighting in town?
Yeah, that's where I got the quote from. He came back and he took a look at the trees and the wells and
But what do they do now? Anything now, or we don't have?
on the trees, no.
No, I mean just generally in town.
They decorate the light poles during the holiday
The
season.
Christmas lights.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mark was, and then Lauren, and then Dan.
Are we talking about Washington Avenue and Railroad Avenue?
Just Washington.
Just Washington
So
Avenue?
it's 2,000 tree, I mean, so you probably double that because there's about another 30
Okay,
and
just want to be
These
clear.
are small trees.
Yeah, the ginkgos, yeah. Well, no, some of them are pretty good size.
Is the,
It's
just
just
a-
it's very labor intensive, and it's very labor intensive throughout the entire year, maintaining them and keeping them going.
a follow-up question.
Sure.
Are all the electrical outlets at the base of the trees in working order? or-
No, that's what I said, it
That's-
actually expands into a larger project, because in order to do the trees, you have to make sure that that's all done, and back up and running again.
Lauren, please.
So I actually went with my children to our newest store, Creatively Yours.
To where?
Creatively Yours, it's the pottery
Yeah.
place. They're thrilled to be here. They have an evening business. They said they can't really start running the evening classes the way they do in Ridgewood and bring people in, which is a night, evening activity. It's a draw, it's a service. It's entertainment value, another thing than the movies. We really should support them. They say the town is dark at night. It's uninviting. Just another example of a town who's spoken up, a business who's spoken up, who, you know, this is why I'm looking to do this. I think that price is very high, obviously.
Yeah, we're gonna beat it out.
We're
We're gonna beat it out. It's
I'd
over
still like to
60,000,
investigate it.
over 40,000. We'll put it out for bids and see whoever gets the right
Well,
thing.
we have to
Well,
figure
you
out.
have to establish a funding source, and before putting out to bid.
I understand.
You
So we're
have
gonna
to-
put
you
60,000
have
in the capital budget,
the
but we're not
capital-
gonna spend it all, that's all.
But you
Hopefully,
can't,
yes, sir.
Or, we
Yeah.
can do, maybe we end up doing a block on West Railroad, too.
but first, you can't
It's
put
60,000
anything
was
without
first,
fixing
but
the
West
electrical,
Railroad and-
that's the first
What's
expense.
Washington Avenue.
Bob,
That's all I
excuse me,
did. Yes.
the 60,000 is to do the ambiance lighting, but what is it to maintain it and what is it to get it up to speed?
Bingo.
I don't know how many outlets work, how many don't at this point in time. And
So there would be cost to the operating
there's gonna
budget
be
or?
cost to the operating budget, and then you're gonna have repairs throughout the year. Basically, the contractor said, in order to keep them going, just turn them on, leave them on, never shut them off. Because when you shut them off, the rodents eat through the wires, and then you have to chase, you know.
But
chase
those are
through
gonna
the-
be LEDs lights, yeah?
So you really need to
Yeah.
wash.
Yeah, LED lights.
It's a whole
We're gonna be
project.
LED? Okay.
Yeah, the LED light.
The tree
Let me-
lights will
let
be.
me-
Hold on, Max, we had a couple people had their hands up. Dan and Lauren again. Dan?
Oh, for the actual street lights, Bob, when converted to LED, is there a spot in town we can do a pilot? Because this right outside right here, that's a soft yellow. It's different from an LED white.
Yeah.
It sets a different mood, so,
Well, it's a different.
yeah,
so-
it's a very
Yeah,
different
high
feel. It's
pressure
like being
sodium,
in a,
mercury vapors,
right,
LEDs.
one's rural and one's very city. It's,
Right.
it's a very different vibe. I
It's more
personally
like old fashioned.
don't like the bright white LED in certain areas. It could work on a major street, but on our smaller side streets of downtown, it's a
Well,
different,
for
different
example,
vibe.
the lights at Davis Johnson Park by the,
Right, David Johnson Park
by
should
the
be,
gazebo are terrible, terrible.
should not be LED.
They're not.
Good, I mean,
Lauren, did you want to say something? And Max, you're after her?
So I have a question. Can this project be, any of it done with the electrical work or the maintenance in-house? That's my first part.
Not the electrical.
Not the electrical. That has to be bid out, or can we do that in small stages?
It depends on the,
Magnitude
I
of the
have,
job.
yeah, exactly. It depends on the magnitude of the job.
Okay. If we don't put it in the budget tonight, what are our options for exploring lights?
Well, there would be a project we work on, starting now, and we'll have it all prepared for you for the next budget season. That, we
So
can,
for an
we can
entire
go
year.
through and see what's going on with all the outlets, see what has to be done, then we can gauge. And then if I'm working on that project, then I'll work on the lighting, it's changing the existing streetlights out to LED. We'll get a price on that. So if you're gonna do the lighting change, just do it all.
We are trying very hard to rebuild this downtown. That is a number one priority of our residents. I'm not saying we have to spend this amount, but we should
Well,
consider some options of fixing some of these areas.
Max?
Okay, basically that's for a certain number of trees. If we decide to do the Washington instead of the, if we decide to do Railroad instead of Washington, which will cover most of the restaurants in the area, will be pretty much the same thing, because we're talking, let's say, 10 trees or
Wouldn't
10
cover her
trees.
pottery store.
Sorry?
Wouldn't cover her pottery store.
Pottery store, yeah, so we can do 4 trees in the downtown, or 6 trees down the Washington, and we do 4 trees down Railroad. We can do that mix and match to make sure that we get an ambience between all of them. And
I would just like to say, listen, nobody wants the downtown improved more than I.
nobody.
I'm just convinced, I'm not convinced that this money is the first place we should put that money. Lauren, you've made a point of talking about parking lot O. I think parking lot O needs lights as much as Washington Street or West Railroad Avenue.
Yes, it
We
does.
can't, being that we can't do everything all at once, we can put it in the budget for lights, but I'm not convinced that this should be the first step in what I'd like to see a lot of improvements to downtown. Jeff, you're shaking your head, yes. Do you have any suggestions as far as, where do you see it? I mean, you lived in this town your whole life.
Well, we were actually just talking
Yeah.
about parking lot O as LEDs would be the, brighten that area up. But I agree that this is a multi-headed hydrant, and we're trying to attack it on so many different levels. I think we need to pick whatever our priorities are, focus on that, not pick 14 priorities, and if anybody else here calls it Washington Avenue one more time, we're going to have an ordinance to change the name of it, because Washington Avenue, which I've now heard 3 references from 3 different people,
Oh, God.
is in Bergenfield.
Oh,
Washington
God.
Street is in
Should
Tenafly.
we shoot him? Is the
It's
whole time to shoot
it's
him?
contagious. One person says it, the others follow.
Please get it, no, but that's all joking aside. I think I don't care which of those priorities. I think we need to have an in-depth discussion. What is the number 1 priority? Attack it, and what's 2, 3, and 4?
So does it mean put $60,000 in and decide the
Hold on.
priority? What do we have a choice to make today.
Right.
What do you say? Put 60,000 in lightning and we
could-
decide on priority?
Well, I don't
we-
think we've discussed enough to know what the
could we-
priorities and the benefits
Could we
are.
just put $60,000 in the capital budget for downtown improvements?
Is the bond
That's a-
council say yes?
That way we can actually explore both options
Yes.
of parking lot O
Yes.
and the twinkler lights. Work with the Chamber of
Right.
Commerce, work with
Okay.
businesses.
Because I think.
Well, I want an
picking
answer to
it-
that
I think our
question.
picking it under,
That's a good
you know, with a gun to our heads of pick this over that, I don't think that's gonna be a good decision.
What, you don't think what'll be a good decision?
If we're trying to, you know, choose A or B when.
On the spot.
On the spot. I
Right,
like
well,
your
that's-
idea, I like your idea of let's put money into it and then see where it's best.
Susan?
Jason came up with a good idea, and I think it's a viable one. Go ahead.
Well, I think maybe consider that as a part of the lighting signal improvements, you authorize a comprehensive lighting study throughout the town. So that an architect or engineer, whatever, they assess the infrastructure and they may come up with a plan to propose to you an entire cost. So you're not randomly investing in LED lights here or there and just end up with something that looks piecemeal. I don't know if that's an answer to.
Well, it's an answer, except that we are all studied out. You know, we would
Okay.
like to spend some money on hardware rather than
Yeah.
on studies. But on the other hand, if we want to do something in a comprehensive way, I'm not sure we can avoid, you know, it's a practical way. Dan had his hand up, then you again, Jeff, and then Mark, rather.
So rather than 60 now and then look at parking lot all next year, something else in the downtown will come up, like the pavers need to get fixed, the
Mhm.
crosswalks, the side, everything.
It all does.
So rather than doing little by little, can we look at this next year as a grand, big project?
I would rather spread out the costs over numerous years, truthfully. I think it,
Then you're
Well,
phasing
that, you know,
things.
this is why we really need a
we have
5-year capital plan.
we have a fire truck next
Because
year.
it's very easy to say, what are we gonna do, put $250,000 for down improvements, and we also theoretically are looking at a fire truck, and we're looking at, obviously, roads. So we really need, I think that should be our highest priority chore. After we get finished with the budget season, we really need to do a long-term capital plan, so that, and, you know, it works in other towns. So, Mark?
So, I'm sorry, were you up next?
Yeah.
Go ahead. No,
Losing
please.
track.
There's no rush.
Just question on that suggestion, Jason.
Yeah.
That, you said for a study of the lighting?
Come up with something so that you guys have the confidence in what you're authorizing. them.
The only reason I'm a little confused is because I thought when we were discussing parking lot O the other day, and the idea was that, well, you can't just do a study, you have to have a project.
That's why he's lumping it.
I would
with
con-
the
So it's
light.
lumped with the actual project of
With a
the,
project that has to,
the traffic lights.
That's what I'm
It's-
proposing, yes.
any kind of
I
lighting,
get
straight
that,
lighting,
that
things like
then
that.
we can do a study, but then it's
Finish
okay.
it,
And
right?
But
You don't have to do it, you can even use the money, but it's,
Right, no, I,
And the study
I just
is-
wanna make sure I understood.
Yeah, and
I'll do the study.
And the
take this
study
year.
is needed because, like Bob mentioned, you have to evaluate the capacity, what outlets are out, or what
Mhm.
needs to be upgraded, what needs to be replaced, because it makes no sense in purchasing the things, but you can't plug them in.
Correct.
Correct. I didn't realize what a bad shape the electrical outlets
Mhm.
were in,
Mark?
the existing.
So I agree with Jeff, is that we need to have a more comprehensive kind of sit-down and conversation about what the actual priority we're gonna pick out before we just start deciding to spend money ad hoc. I mean, if I was gonna spend add 60,000 to this budget, I would add it to the road program. I think that, to me, is the number one priority, so that's where my vote would be.
I have a question about the road program. I'm trying to say that you close, because there is something, and I'm glad Jeff you're here. We have 3 programs that are going on right now that are gonna be closed and we have money. We have the Piermont Road that is gonna be $600,000, and sooner or later, I don't say God willing because I don't believe, sooner or later those programs are gonna be done. And we're gonna get the money back somehow because it's a grant. Then we have the $200,000 that comes from the school parking lot. Sooner or later, we're gonna close that program too. And $200,000 are coming back to us. And we have about $200,000 from the money that we allocated last year for the roads, which were with the co-op. And now we didn't do all of them, so we have, so altogether we have about $1 million.
Before you,
You don't really have money. You have to wait. We don't even know when we're gonna get the money back from the grant. You have to wait and then we
I
pay-
understand, but
then
that's
we
what
pay
I
down
said.
debt.
That's why I said
No.
sooner or later we're gonna get them.
If there's money left, we can reappropriate those funds.
It's not money left. The 600,000 comes back sooner or later.
Right, but you don't know when, so you
Doesn't
can't-
matter, that's
so
why,
we're not-
let me finish the
We're not
question.
spending it.
No, we're not spending it yet.
But it might be there to pay down debt. You just don't, you don't
That's why I'm trying
say-
to-
Well, what, I believe what Max is trying to say
Mhm.
is that, you know, there's a potential in the near future that we'll have this funds, that if we want to reallocate it for roads, we can.
Exactly, that's the question. Can we reallocate at least a part of it to the new road program, let's say another 600,000?
That's-
We're getting $1 million out of, sooner or later, we're gonna get them. And whenever we get them, can we allocate for the, and then the question is, can I do an anticipatory bond paid with other sources and then pay it back?
The simple answer is no.
No.
Thank
The
you.
answer is no.
Thank you. All right, let Coop,
No question.
we need to get back on track, okay, because time is flying and we're not getting anywhere.
But-
The question becomes, do we want to add $60,000 to capital, either for the lights that we're talking about, or just add it to the,
Or parking lot.
I mean, I would.
I would vote to add it to the road program.
Well,
If we're gonna add
we also have
60,000.
another alternative, and that's not to add it to capital. I mean, unless you have an urge to raise the bottom line of capital by $60,000, well, obviously, we can always find a road to pay, that's not the issue.
So one of the reasons why I'm focusing on the downtown is obviously if we bring in more stores that can sustain an evening business, whether it's restaurants or if we can get another liquor license being used here in town or something else, that is tax revenue that helps our residents. That is helping to offset this budget. And right now, we haven't focused on our downtown enough. This is one of the only things in the budget that focuses on any offset of revenue here in the budget. It raises revenue from the stores. It will help on future years. I think it's an investment for a long-term downtown plan. And I think if we throw it all in at once, it's going to be way too overwhelming and never happen. If you do step by step, fix a parking lot, fix the lighting, certain things, but we should not do, to me, nothing.
Well, I agree, we should do things step by step. I just don't necessarily believe that putting lights in the trees is the first step. I would rather replace all of the lights, the street lights, make them brighter. I think that makes a little bit more sense, because in order to do that, you've got to make sure you have electric at every pole, and those are the same poles, I believe, that you would use for the trees.
Yeah, but
So-
then it doesn't change anything.
Well,
It's-
it makes
it's
the,
business.
makes the two streets brighter.
Yeah, but very little. It doesn't change the attractiveness.
So as you said, we're spending a lot of time on this. Why don't we, this would be my suggestion, we put in $60,000 generically for the downtown, because I understand your point, Mark, but if, we'll always have something that's a priority.
Understood. I'm
So
making
we
a point.
put it in, and then we have this discussion another
Okay.
time to figure out.
I think everybody, I don't
I
see any
appreciate that
reluctance
support.
to not put the 60,000 in, so we'll do that.
Okay, what's the project going to be?
Downtown business
The
improvement.
streetlights
Well,
are
I don't know if that's-
Street
Purpose
lights.
downtown
Street lights.
rehab.
Well, I like
Is
the
that-
streetlights, so that's tied to something specific.
No, well, what is the project, what is it gonna entail? You have to be more specific when we
Can
write.
you
Well, it has to be the
Where is
streetlights in
downtown
Parking
rehab?
Lot O, the streetlights along Washington Street and Railroad Avenue.
Do we have a cost?
Those are all electrical
Hmm?
streetlights.
We're gonna beat it out. We don't
It's a
have a
parking
cost.
lot and two streets.
Okay, so that would,
$2,000
if
per
we,
tree.
we would have
But
to
that's-
supplement this if the cost comes in higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we could put 60,000, and then if the cost comes in higher, it would have to be a supplemental
Okay.
bond ordinance.
So I'd like to think, are we finished with the budget? Any other questions?
Now-
Well, before we finish with the budget, do we need to discuss Jamie?
So we
Well,
added
don't you
60,000.
Well, there are
Did
many
you
things
say
to
that?
discuss about the budget.
Is Jason gonna give us an input that will help us make a decision on Jamie?
No, but he's here if anybody has questions.
No, no,
Okay.
but there are many things to discuss about the budget before, besides Jamie's plea.
Who's that?
Well, anything that would involve capital or going out to bond. That's why Jason's here. Otherwise, if we're done with capital improvements
Yeah.
and borrowing,
Yeah, I don't want you guys just to think that I'm Dr. No.
No, yes, you
I-
are, yes, you are.
We need
Yeah.
you, Dr. No.
He
What
had
you
an
have to do
iPad.
is to find a way.
Yeah,
for
so
us.
I'm here to help you find solutions to what you want to accomplish, and
traffic
the
lights,
basic
right.
thing is, I need to make sure that there is a real project that
Yeah.
conforms, that's authorized by state law, and then we can, go and borrow for it. So that's how I can help you.
So yes, I put $5,000 in for soft costs for bonding costs later when we roll up the bonds. Because bonding, when you go down to Moody's, that's could be 20,000. The auditors could be another 20,000. Your fees, bond counsel. When I did the last one, we were lucky enough to scrape up the money, but it wasn't planned for.
Okay.
It's a good question.
I have a question. Would either of those projects be eligible for CDBG grants?
No, because it's not in the census tract.
Not in the census tract, there you go.
Did anybody
I thought
have
part
any
of our
more,
downtown was.
any more
No,
questions?
where the senior center is because of the population that's being served directly.
Which has no lighting. It needs lighting. It needs
If you're putting lighting on the senior center, it would be
Qualifies.
in that lot, that specific lot, not down the block, not across the
Keep
street.
in mind.
Understand.
Are there any more questions about capital that the bond council needs to guide us or at least answer questions? No?
I didn't
So
see
we
that,
can, we
like,
can,
that's what I was gonna say, I didn't see the $4,000 for picnic table.
Did we just sign
Yeah.
$4,000?
Yeah, we approve that.
Oh.
can
I
you
have to
really,
write that
Tables
down.
can you really
and
take, take,
How old is a picnic table?
I'm sorry?
What's the useful life of a picnic table?
20 years.
20 years, it's
Is that
metal,
right?
metal and plastic.
I mean, I
We're not doing
think
the
it's
wood.
at least 5 years, and if it's part of a park, we could,
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put it in
Depends
with
who
or
the
it could be a
park.
furnishing
Yes.
to a building, or.
Okay, so how
So,
much is
Different
it,
ways to put it.
4,000?
4,000.
and,
And is there
no, there's two
a
different.
spot where this is gonna go?
In each one
It
of
should
the
be
parks, one in
DPW,
each one of the
Parks and
parks.
Fields.
Okay, so.
See, one change to just let you guys know, the local bond law was adopted in 1960, right? So they had broad categories.
It's
of
like
what
our
projects
management,
are.
1960.
And what the local, Division of Local Government Services has now proposed, they're trying to implement regs that allow us to submit to them a specific project for useful life determination. They're hammering out that process right now as to what it would be. So if there's something wacky that comes up, there would be an avenue for us to seek guidance from. the
There is
division.
something that you can clear up for us. A bond that we are basically going out. It was a question that Mark said, how many years is the bond for?
They mean the overall ordinance when you do the bond ordinance.
So you adopt individual ordinances
Yeah,
over several years. And each ordinance has an average useful life, if there's several projects or just the useful life for this single project. When you have enough ordinances that you're ready to sell bonds,
yeah.
typically 4 or 5 years here in the borough, an average useful life of all the projects is then calculated. Typically, that's a high number, it's like 25, 30, 35 years, whatever it may be on average, right? And that is what the law says that you can go out and borrow for. However, that's not what the market is necessarily going to accept. So then when we sell bonds, you have a municipal advisor, and they give you the financial advice. And they say, well, actually, the appetite in the market right now is for nothing more than 18 years, or 15 years. And usually that's around where your debt schedules come in.
So the length of the bond is at least, it should be shorter than the average calculated life of the replacement.
It's, that period is financial advice that you get at the time when you're ready to
But it has to be
sell
shorter,
bonds.
cannot be longer.
Oh, no, correct.
So it'll be
Right.
shorter based on the advice, but not longer than the calculated rate.
Correct.
Okay.
So just a follow-up question to that. So, for instance, this is $4,000 worth of picnic tables that we're putting in the capital budget. Are we paying for that over 10 or 12 years? Or is that calculated specifically, that portion of the bond is retired after 3 years, whatever it might be? How does that work?
It all gets rolled into the.
It all gets rolled into the longer number.
Correct.
if you borrow $20 for 3 different items,
Yeah.
Yep.
and one of them
Yeah.
is food.
Yep.
It's not, you know, Vanu had his hand up and,
Yeah, I just had a question on the vehicle upfit costs. So it shows 53,494.
Oh, yeah, I have to change that.
So
It's
it should
supposed to
be about
vehicle
70,000
and
something.
outfit costs.
Right, but I mean, the amount is.
One vehicle SUV
Right,
and the cost to upfit it. That's the total amount.
so so that comes out to the 53,494?
Yes,
Because I had 35,922 in
Yeah,
here.
there was,
right, because it's gonna be the 35,922 plus 17 something.
Oh, okay,
Jeff, and then
I
Lauren.
thought Lauren was-
But we took that out of the op range.
This is
Right,
really,
right.
since we're often big on ideas and short on detail, this is really for you, Bob. A question about picnic tables. What do we do with them during the winter?
Stay right where they
They
are.
stay where they are? They'll hold up in the elements. I
We
didn't know
only
if we
moved-
needed
moved
storage.
60 How many did we move in?
Those were the wooden ones.
There's 45 tables that get moved for camp.
Okay. I didn't know if we needed to
Well,
worry
they're
about
outside in the winter
storage.
though, right?
Yes.
The
Okay,
ones we're
We have no
looking-
place to store them.
that's why I didn't know,
Lauren?
so
The ones we're looking to buy will be all weather resistant.
yeah.
Well, all the ones we have are all weather, but after 20 years of all weather, they've just
They
about
won't.
all had it.
Because it's all weather.
This is just to throw it out for conversation. The picnic tables, does it make sense to bond for them? Does it make sense to go to something like open space for 4,000?
No, don't nickel and dime the open space.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Budget questions?
All right,
Are
now,
we
Capital.
finished, are we
Or
finished with
capital
the
for
capital?
us, Jason.
Capital. Wait, I'm sorry, so the 54, this is the 54, not 34, 35. Your question?
Right.
so you're
Are
gonna
we
have to
finished
tell
with
her
the capital,
to get.
ladies and gentlemen? Thank you,
Yeah.
Jason.
Thank you, Mayor.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Very
Nice to
much.
see you again.
And I'll call you tomorrow, Jason.
Bye, Jason.
It'll come
Take
up-
your
it'll come
time.
up as spam.
Take care.
All right, back to the budget.
Yeah, the budget, all right.
Questions?
So there were questions about the budget.
Well, can I ask you a question? Because Jamie is here, is there a reason to make her wait? Can we discuss her situation and the other issues?
As far as we can do whatever you want, it's,
Okay, well, then, thank you. Mark?
So I asked Jamie to come in this evening, and I believe everyone should have gotten an email today with a little two-page memo she prepared. And so I'm asking the mayor and council to reconsider moving her salary to the raise that was recommended by Lizette. Or, you know, so perhaps Jamie, you want to say a couple of things about the sheet?
Before
Go
she
ahead.
does, Susan, what was the recommended and what did we settle on?
We settled on 70, the recommended was 72, and Jamie had requested, I think, 76.
And what was it last year?
Well, I'm going to get the book now.
I can tell you,
Yeah.
I can tell you in a second.
I just want
I think it was
everybody to be,
66 something.
I want everybody to be on the same wavelength.
Yeah, it was-
Okay, so
sorry,
it's 66,300.
yeah.
66,300 with a normal 2% raise, it went to what?
66,
67.
300 would have gone to 67, 626.
Okay, and it was recommended 72, at this point, we're at 70?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
the
it,
book-
Jamie?
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to thank you guys for having me. It's lacrosse opening day, so thank you for taking me early. I just wanted to bring this to your attention again. I feel like what was recommended was fair, and I think that it's so hard during an operational meeting to explain to you what I do extra or additional. So I did prepare the proposal for you to review. So
Any questions on this sheet?
No. I have a few questions. Jamie,
Mhm.
and maybe it's Susan.
Mhm.
There is an additional, or is it included in the Recce,
Budget.
but the Recce stipend or whatever, is it included in here or is it additional to this one?
What happens is that's the amount of her salary, and then we reallocate a portion of it into the trust.
Okay,
How much
so,
is that?
So
so,
it's on there, whatever I.
no, it
put.
doesn't. It says $8,800.
That would go to the trust.
Comes out of-
answer the
Comes out,
response,
yeah,
please
that's-
answer.
Yeah,
That 72,000 includes the money she gets from the trust
Correct.
for the, or not? That's the question.
It's not additional, it is added into my salary.
So 72,000
Overall.
includes also the money from for the Reiki for the trust?
She's not getting 72 plus 88.
Correct.
The
Right.
88 is come.
That's
is
what- that
added
was
in.
the-
oh
It
yeah,
comes
you
to
know what, then
72
that would
include-
lower it in the budget.
I'm sorry?
I think maybe the budget could be lowered then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we can take out the
Still, yeah.
$1,800 from there because it's in
He's
here.
right.
Okay, so, see, there is a reason in the madness.
Yeah,
Always remember
I
that.
have 88, I have 78.
70, no, there is 70,
8,300.
So I just have a question about that,
We're
Susan.
busted.
no,
Wait a
because
minute.
he's right, because we allocate.
Susan, you have this as a negative number in here, though, the allocation. So you've already taken
You've
it
already
out.
taken it out.
Oh,
I can't.
You've already
Max, you're
calculated
mixing
it
me up, I
out.
don't have the book in front of me. It's already taken out, they're
It's already
right.
taken
no, it
out.
doesn't.
No.
It's a negative number.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
negative number,
Yeah,
but the
it's
total.
coming out already, you're
Okay,
right.
let me just see the
Sorry.
total here. The total here, which is is 183, 184.
No, Max, it's deducted already, so the net amount, Mark, thank you. The net amount is in the budget.
Okay, that's all right.
Lauren, please.
I didn't finish, I'm
Oh,
sorry. I
Sorry,
was,
Max,
okay.
you were done.
So that's the first thing. The second here, Jamie, your department is the only department that has an extra hire this year as a full-time, plus a part-time. So, Ba-
The part-time was there already.
I know
It's
there
not
was,
additional.
but the question is coming now. You have an additional full-time, you have a part-time, you also have additional money for $5,000 now for additional
Special events.
special events and stuff like that. Your department is the only department that goes way up, up because of new, and we need to look at overall, if you get a full-time person, do you still need the additional part-time person? And when you have two full-time people plus yourself, in order to make sure that any additional increases are basically not busting the total budget. So it's hard to make this as a condition because you understand. But once we approve additional things, we have to look at the overall budget and look at the overall increase. And that's all I had to say.
Lauren?
I have a few questions. So one of the things I saw on your proposal, it's very neat, was a request for when you work after hours or weekends. We have a budget here that says there's $5,000 of overtime for the department. Do you submit your overtime?
I do not. I do
And
not.
why is that?
I don't get paid
Department heads.
overtime.
It's not-
Departments are
Department
ineligible.
overtime.
So the overtime, what you're looking at is the overtime goes to, let's say Carol. So
Okay.
she makes overtime for additional hours. And what you're seeing for special events is your Easter egg hunts, your safe at home tournaments. That money is for those special events that we run for the
But
community.
for who? Somebody has to be paid.
How does that
Who's
money
paid?
get
It's,
spent?
it's our staff, it's Carol, it's Lisa, it's Rob, and then it's also the kids that work, so the people that we pull from, our counselors, they get paid through that account for special events, 4th of July, community night.
I have a few
All
more.
right, you've got the floor until you surrender it.
Okay, so, does does the recreational aide does he do any of the summer office assistant work?
He does the summer office assistant work, but he does not work additional. So what he does is he complements Lisa in the summer since we're off-site. We're off-site directing the camp. So he is in the office for when Lisa takes lunch. They're really the only two in there during the
Well-
summer.
Sorry, will Rob be added, will the site supervisor be added?
Rob is the site supervisor for camp. So he works over at the camp as his hours and also grooms the fields during the summer. So he's doing both.
He's
We
good
kind
now.
instead of hiring an additional person to do that job, we actually utilized him last year to do both.
Speaking of the site supervisor, so there's a difference, to make him full-time, So that position was at 25,636. It is now going to 32,760, which is a difference of $7,124 plus pension and benefits.
Also 6 hours.
Yes, and 6 hours. And the raise that's already been granted for the director's position is a additional $2,374. So that's almost about $10,000 of changes in salary. Are you able to offset any of that in anywhere else in your department?
Well, we already pulled from the seasonal and the special events, which I can't do anymore because I do need staff to run the community events. So I can't pull from there anymore. And I just want everyone to know, hiring Rob was a great decision. And in doing that, you hired him because he has more facilities to groom and to take care of. And with that being said, creates more office work. So everybody is valid in our office. Everybody does what they're supposed to do, and now there's more. So because we need Rob's outside, we need internal help as well. So I think with all the additional things that complement it.
The software that was presented last year, just to bring that up, that facility maintenance and the facility tracking, would that create efficiencies in your workforce in the office?
Well, it depends what it I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what software it is. So as far as I'm concerned, I would have to see it. And again, we've talked about the Board of Ed and the AD and, parks over there. Everybody has to be on board. So I think Dan said it best last time. I'm going to be talking to myself. So I think everybody needs to be on
within your
board.
office, within your employees.
A software for in the office. Well, we internally were okay.
Okay, because you
you
said
know.
when the site supervisor is out grooming the fields, there's an increased need of paperwork in the office, so I'm asking if that became electronic.
It's not paperwork for Rob. It's just having 200 lacrosse players. It's softball. It's the additional work internally that he doesn't do. So his job is outdoors. We're indoors. It's much different. And these are two major sports. It's not just a clinic. It's not just once. These are two major spring sports. So, there's validity in that.
Okay, any other questions? Well, Mark, if you want to make a proposal, we'll see what the council says.
So my thought is, and my view is, I support Lizette's recommendation to bring Jamie's salary to $72,000, especially based on the amount of work she does after hours, on the weekends, and her free time. And now I think we better understand, Max, how the costs are allocated.
I'm still not so sure that we need to have another person like Small Kenny for another 20 years, to tell the truth, Mark.
Who?
The recreation aid for
Another
20 hours.
recreation
Sure,
aid.
that's a separate that's not the question I'm raising, though. I'm
Because
talking
I
about
said,
her
yeah,
salary.
okay, because I
Right.
said if we can offset some of the cost, I'll have no hesitation.
Well, that's a good question, but that's a question for Lizette.
And you may brought to 15.
Well, I also
That's-
believe that the director has heard this message twice now.
Right.
And I think if there was a cut that she felt comfortable making, it would have been made. So I think the decision at this point is where the budget is. Do you want to give her the increase or not? But did you want to add something,
I
please?
just have, it still kind of, confused me. So the site supervisor is going from part-time to full-time. He's adding 6 hours. What is and 6 hours per week?
Mhm.
That-
What is it?
Yeah, what quantify for
Mhm.
us what the additional 6 hours per week is?
Okay, so now we have lacrosse and softball, so we have to maintain those facilities. He also does now, he does, I think Bob, you
But
can.
that's 6 hours per week for the entire year, or for
Uh-huh.
45 weeks.
Right,
Or
correct.
no, actually, yeah, for 45 weeks.
Yes. Rob has been doing things, helping out the DPW. He seeds the grass. These are things that we ask him to do. So he's helping out, leaf blowing and things he's normally not supposed to do.
So
but
he helps DPW.
now he's starting,
Well, he's
well,
doing our fields.
he's doing things to cut a little bit from,
Okay, so
what they
having
need to
said
do.
that, is there any allocation that can come out of DPW?
he's our DPW person, but I think it is smarter for him to do those certain things.
It's two different
You know what I
units.
mean?
No,
So-
no, I know,
So
but I mean,
that's
you know,
one thing.
I mean,
Yeah, Yeah, so
there is
Rob
some
grooms,
assistance
Rob
with
grooms all of our fields.
No, no, but he's blowing the leaves off our field.
He
He's
is.
planting
The
grass on
skate
our
park,
field.
the basketball courts, all three Sunnyside fields. He does a soccer cage. Right now,
I'm not talking about his overall job, I'm saying, okay, so he was
Additionally.
doing X.
mhm. We-
What is the additional X,
so
or
now,
Y?
now we're utilizing Walnut Park,
Mhm.
which he lines and grooms Walnut Park.
Mhm.
for the
But that he wasn't
kids.
doing before.
We just started utilizing that because I just felt like it was a space we weren't utilizing.
Mhm.
And we're creating all these additional sports for ages 3 to 2nd grade. So now we're just trying to utilize all the space we can.
I'd like to say that Lauren has, and it's been the consensus that our parks are not where they want to be. Forget the parks
Yes.
for a second
Mhm.
and concentrate on the recreational facilities, the basketball court, even something like the soccer cage has to be blown once in a while, Sunnyside Park. In a perfect world, we might allocate this stuff to the DPW, correct? But unfortunately, the DPW is overwhelmed.
Mhm.
So he's not doing anything other than the athletic fields that our recreation
No,
programs
that-
use.
that's fine, that's great, and
And-
all I was trying to see
No,
is if
it's
there's
a-
some way to,
it's a reasonable question.
To recover some of that from another,
Right. Well, I mean, he also does the tennis courts, and then as far as the school is concerned, Board of Ed property, if he asks, he does the back of the middle school during softball season, men's season. He grooms those fields because they trust him during that season to do that. So he does additional things, and now I'm using him in camp. So now he is our supervisor at our camp, so I don't have to hire another person. He's there already. So
My-
kind of.
My sense of it is, Vanu, is I'm hoping those extra 6 hours will equate to the fields looking better.
I think that Rob is doing a good job.
Yeah,
as a
Rob
matter
is,
of fact.
he's limited only by the amount of time he has.
Yeah, no, I think that he is worth it, that money. It's,
Well, that's what he was asking. Jeff?
All right, so
Hold on, Lauren. We'll
Sorry,
wait.
we're just doing math over here.
having come through Little League, and the mayor has, and we've had that run by the Little League, and basketball's run by basketball, and soccer. Why is it that when we take a new program that why would you want to take it under rec and like lacrosse, 200 kids, instead of them starting a lacrosse league, putting it on their shoulders, because that certainly reduces the amount of headache I'm sure Little League, I know, tremendously reduced the amount of headaches that rec had, because it was and is still run by parents.
But Little League would like rec to take it over.
Well, they mentioned it.
They mention, I
Throwing it
know, but
around.
they also, I've
I
talked to
would like
them
to be
recently,
rich.
and they're not.
I mean, would I say
They're
no
not
there yet.
if nobody wanted
They're
to
not
do
there.
it?
But
You
the
know.
point is that we've had these, and basketball and soccer, very strong boards, and I think the idea is, if you want it badly enough, I think the message should be coming, then run it. It's not just you want it, you don't want it that badly, but will incur the extra time, the extra headaches and all to run it for you. I think that actually hurts our ability to demonstrate the commitment of some of these sports. And that's a concern.
They're really
Hold on.
super involved, so.
You're right,
Mhm.
but the time to discuss that is when she comes to the council table, which she did, and said, would like to start a lacrosse program. There's a bunch of parents that want a lacrosse
I don't
program.
remember. we
That
had
was the time we should have said, well, if they want a lacrosse
Yeah,
program,
we had that
let them run it. We didn't. We said,
We didn't
okay,
have it in the commission.
you do it. We told her, you do it, and it's running well. My concern is, and you've seen it, Jeff, the parents' commitment to these sports is not increasing. There are dads and moms that are really involved, but the number is not increasing, and it's getting tougher and tougher for Little League and basketball to run these programs, unfortunately.
Can I ask another
Well, no,
question?
she had her hand up first, and then you're next.
I just want to say, I went through the changes in salary that went above the union contracts, and that went above any 2% in our boroughs. We have over $25,000, which is rounding, not including the tax assessor still to be determined, and including the raise we've given to this current director. I'm just saying, we are giving a lot of raises above the 2% raise that's contractual. This raise, did we figure out the percentage? Yeah, it's at least a 4% raise to get to 70K. At least, I think it's a 4-point-something% raise. Just wanna put it out there. And I think that 4%, is well earned. I think, this director does a great job, which is why we gave that raise in the first place.
Can I make a comment about the numbers, just to interject
Yeah.
for a second?
Go ahead.
And realize if we do Lizette's recommendation and go to the 72, we're not going up by by the full 2,000 to our budget, because there'll be some of that will be allocated to summer camp. We'd only wind up going up about
Oh.
1,700 to our budget.
Is that percent
This
based?
number doesn't change.
No.
Wouldn't that number change?
No,
No,
it changes, you take,
CFO.
you take 6 weeks of the higher number, we reallocate to the camp.
But
So
if they're
the net
only-
effect is 1769.23.
1769,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It doesn't raise the
We-
bottom line of the
So
camp.
the 4.5
Just
has
comes
already
out of the
been
salary line of the camp.
$2,374.
It will come out of the camp.
5.6.
the camp
That's a
is fully-
5.6%
trust.
raise
Yeah.
to 70. Then up to 70. We've given a 5.6 raise here to percent raise to 70K. 5.6, that's the highest raise we've given in any department yet.
Okay. And this is a conversation I want to have after Jamie.
Okay. I
It's
just
not
hope you
related
guys
to
see the
Jamie
merit.
also.
I know there are people sitting here that don't do extra weekends, and it's during the time they're working. I'm doing a lot extra, so I just hope you realize that.
Yeah,
And that's why I did the proposal for
yeah.
you.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you so much. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Jamie.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you for your hard work.
There is something, may I say something? It was my turn?
Absolutely.
Okay, it's not about Jamie, because she's not asking, but there was a philosophy coming to the board over here, and there was something that I wanted to specifically bring it up. Basically, we saved the town $7,000, or we saved the town $10,000, or we don't go out for COA anymore, I'm doing inside, and I wanna pocket that money. There is absolutely no advantage to and the role of the manager of any department is to save money. If the role of the manager is saying, I can save the money, put it in my department pocket, is what it is, it's not the way we wanna run the town. So, and I apologize because I don't wanna be rude, and I apologize for, but we wanna change the mentality, because that's what we are not gonna talk about. If we are gonna talk, I don't know if we're gonna do that, about the tax assessor who comes up with the same thing I'm doing inside, what the people are doing outside, so pay me $40,000 more. No, that's basically your role. You are paid to do the savings for the town. And this philosophy, which was kind of embedded by the previous management, falls on now Lizette's shoulder, and we're going to do a few things. And it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very unpopular. We're going to have to redo all the positions that were written basically 20, 30, 40 years ago for assistant secretaries and stuff like that. They don't match anymore. And we have to include in them all the requirements that are now, so not every time somebody says, oh, there is a new requirement from the states, and if I do that, I want $1,400 in stipend. It has to be in their position description that, if, for example, all the state requirements, all the county requirements are part of your job, period. And if it's a new requirement comes in, another one drops, it doesn't matter. We cannot run the town on new requirements, new assessment, new strategy. And that's going to be very unpopular. It's going to create a lot of unknown for the people that are in town when we reassess their positions and saying, this is what the position now should be. You can apply for it, or if you don't want to apply, we're going to get somebody else, because the 25 years old description does not match as what today the job is. And that's going to go on Lizette's shoulder. We're going to be very unpopular. She's going to be very, but that's something that we have to do. And the philosophy of, oh, we can save the town's $10,000, let's pocket it, it's going to go away.
Well, you know, I think you're personalizing the increases and depersonalizing the decreases. I think, first of all, to blame management, the management team is sitting at this table. It's been sitting at this table since we became a borough. And we approved, the 7 of us, or whoever's sitting at the table, we've approved every one of these budgets. So you can't blame it on administrators, you can't blame it on anybody. Now, the administrators, and even before Lisette, gave the department heads direction to come in at a 0% increase. Okay, and if they didn't come in at a 0% increase, it was their job to justify whatever they wanted in an increase. Okay, you can say, well, if somebody is required to take on additional work, they're doing it in the same time frame, they shouldn't necessarily expect an inordinate increase.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fair. But on the other hand, if we're requiring a department to do more, I think it's reasonable to look at if there's a request for an increase in salary. Nobody says you have to give it to them, but you can't blame increases in a department's budget on a department head. And that's what I'm hearing, that you're blaming the department
No,
heads.
what I
Because
said is
if
the
they want an
mentality.
increase, they gotta cut somewhere else. Well, they may be able to
Oh,
do that,
absolutely.
but they may not be able to do that.
Then-
What I heard this department head say is, it's as lean as she could be. She wants an increase because she feels she's doing more. It's up to the 6 of you or 7 of us to decide whether you want to do that or not.
I know this
But-
is not a very popular view, and I know that it's not exactly what people want to hear, but that's where we are right now.
It's gonna get tougher.
And
gonna get tougher.
and might as well say it up front and start understanding that that's where we're gonna be for the next few years, and that's it.
Well, as Lauren pointed out, this might be, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, the largest raise percentage-wise that we're considering. Maybe, I'm not sure. I know the assessor, there's other people that ask for larger
We didn't
increases.
decide the assessor.
We have to decide, if we gonna have a strict policy, 2%, that's it. And we let that policy be known, and we don't make any exceptions, then the employees are gonna understand that's the name of the game. When we start making exceptions, it's human nature. You made an exception for that person, make an
That's
exception for
exactly
me.
what, you have made my point.
Right, but I'm not saying,
You made my
but
point.
your point, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is we shouldn't make any exceptions.
No, I didn't say, I said, there is, the idea should be that if you save money for the borough, or you do something additional for the borough, it does not mean that you personally should benefit from that. Should be a share.
Is that what you heard here?
I said this is not about Jamie. I said it's something about the whole process. And I specifically said it was not basically something that was about Jamie. It was about the overall process.
Well, I agree with you that we shouldn't gauge an increase on the fact that the department, because in some departments, it's pretty easy
Yeah.
to come in at a 0. And some departments, it's impossible. Are we gonna punish the police chief because those salaries, according to the contract, are going up?
No, no,
No,
see,
we're not.
He did a good
See,
job with his budget.
He did a good job, but I'm just saying,
He took a
No,
lot of
but
stuff
we're not
out.
talking
the
about
bottom line of the
increase in
department is
salaries.
not always within the,
Statutory
The
increases
control of
were
the
not,
department head.
statutory increases were never even discussed as an option. Above statutory increases were the ones that we were discussing. And that's where the conversation comes.
Okay.
And, and we're trying to say, it's gonna get tougher, we approved a few of them. We don't want that to be from now on the rule. And when you start approving, you just say you made an exception for somebody, you ask for an exception. And that's where the problem now starts to creep up. And that's where we are facing right now here.
so, Mark, unless you have something to add, I think we should just go around the
No,
table.
go, look
The
at it.
6 of us,
Everyone's entitled
right
to
now,
their
Jamie's
opinion.
salary, the agreed number is 70,000.
The director.
The only last comment I'm gonna make
Please.
is, the recreation department, hundreds of kids use it. The rec director, the people who work in the rec department are a huge face of this community. She's involved in things that directly affect everyone's children and their parents, and I think we have to remember that, we're not here to make money, we're here to deliver services to people, and I agree, everything has to be at a reasonable cost, and, look, I think she's doing a good job, and again, I support Lizette's recommendation. Everyone has to do what they think is right.
Listen, Lauren?
I think that there could be improvements in rec. My kids are in rec all the time. I have some comments on that for another day. But I think giving a raise of a 5.6% is a significant raise. I think it does show all the extra work she's doing. A 5.6% raise is not a small raise. It does jump up her salary. I'm comfortable giving the 5.6. I'm not comfortable
All
giving
right,
it
so
8.6.
that's, you're saying no.
I am saying no.
Dan?
I'm okay with what we discussed last meeting, the 70.
So, okay, Jeff?
Same as down.
Vanu?
Same.
All right, so, okay, let's move on.
All right.
Anything else that,
We have
issues
to
about the
finish.
budget? Yeah, I know, there's open, what are the open questions in your mind, Susan?
I think I went through most of the
Yeah, the only one
items.
was
Let me
the,
just turn
the
this
assessment.
down.
Janet.
If,
So we
oh,
can
let me
finish
just
that.
see if there's anything on here.
Maybe.
We.
Did we review, Dawn?
Don't we
The
did.
court.
We reviewed, we decided with the judge was here, we decided it stays with that as part of the
I
job.
thought that's what we
The-
did.
Yeah, it was
I
this.
thought we gave her the raise. I
No.
did my
We did-
notes
no,
no,
for
no,
the-
no,
for the
No,
court
we
review.
gave
No.
her a raise, but not what they were asking.
I
Just
had it
the
that we
2%.
raised her to
Oh.
2%.
$1,521.83 in my notes.
There was the 2%
To
raise.
get
That's probably the 2%.
Yes.
To get to.
Lauren, we
Yeah.
decided that we're gonna go
Did you
with
discuss this?
Lizette's recommendation.
Okay,
What was the topic?
That was
Sorry.
the court administrator.
Okay,
what he went
so
on
you wanted to
5%
know-
or
Hold
4%.
on.
Okay.
Lauren, when you're ready,
Well, I was answering Dan.
Dan, don't ask questions.
And don't play
God
with
forbid
it.
we should be enforced.
So you wanted to know who received the stipends for public health? Deputy registrar is Christine,
Yeah,
and,
how much is it?
2,500, and Valerie Nicolosi also receives 2,500. That was for planning secretary.
And the
No,
question
the Board of
is,
Health Secretary.
for
Okay.
for 6 meetings, I consider, let me explain something.
Well, first of all, it's beyond 6 meetings. She does work.
That's what we were
That's what
supposed to
we were
understand
trying to
what it
figure out
does.
how many meetings.
We give a $2,500 stipend for the new secretary for the Historical Society of New York.
The HBC.
HBC, come on, lighten
We
up.
gave a stipend to whom?
For
to
the
the-
recording
HBC.
secretary.
And she goes to 12
I don't-
meetings.
it's
I have
not-
to-
She has to get someone.
Yeah, we get it, but we
I don't
and it
think
goes
they
to
have
12
12
meetings.
Jeff, they don't have 12 meetings. They don't meet in the
Yes.
summertime, do they?
They probably
If they need to, they do. They have met in the summer.
Well, everybody meets if they need to.
But it's,
What's
but
the
they schedule
schedule?
for
I
monthly.
don't know the schedule offhand.
But they schedule for monthly meetings.
No.
I do know they've met.
So it's only proportionally.
What?
What I'm saying, we decided on $2,500 for the secretary of the HPC.
Yes,
And that's 12 meetings.
okay.
This is 6 meetings, $2,500. You calculate how much is per meeting.
Well, no, I already did, but I just want you to know that that's what's in the budget right now, and that was what was also in the budget last
I
year.
understand, that doesn't mean
And I
anything.
know what happened, they converted the part-time salary and wages from the amount into a stipend. That's what happened last year. I look back.
All right. So I think that we should proportionally adjust this to the number of meetings that are,
So how much a meeting?
yeah, it's
11, they're not scheduled in August. I
11.
don't know
Well,
if
it's,
they-
anyway, it's 11 versus 6.
So do you want me to divide the, how
If
much
it's
a meeting?
possible, yes, which basically be only fair. And I'm asking the council, not, I should not be the voice of, I'm asking the council to see
So
what they
two
think.
27 a meeting.
Yeah.
So,
But once again, what does she do outside of the meetings?
That's why I asked.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't have any single
is
answer.
anybody
then.
on that board that could answer?
I'm on the Board of Health, and I
No, you're
know,
not. You're the liaison for 2 meetings, so I
I
don't know
am-
that you necessarily know what she does between meetings.
Okay,
I'm saying as liaison, this is what I was going to say, is that we get newsletters from Mid-Bergen Atlantic on the status of, the flu or the
Yeah.
colds, as we get those things. And I did say, Mayor, liaison is sitting on the board, we get meetings, I get the information,
No,
so.
but you're not on the board, you're not a member of the Board of Health.
It-
The only liaison that's a member of, is the Environmental Commission, where Dan is a member, and that's it. The rest of us serve as liaisons.
It's,
And the alternate for the
You asked a
library.
question,
Planning
Peter, and she was
board.
trying to answer, and you diminished that, oh, you're not a member. That's not used to that.
Yeah, I don't
It-
think that's
It's
appropriate.
semantics, and it was just,
sworn in.
it was just a
Exactly, it was
response.
just an answer to that question.
And I'm pretty sure I got sworn in.
I'm also class 3
Okay.
member.
How many meetings are there a year?
I
Are there definitely only 6?
definitely, I guess, our liaison can tell us.
Let me ask you a question, Lisette. Are we required by state statute to have a board secretary for the Board of Health?
We are required to have a Board of Health, and since we do not have a health officer on staff, you need somebody in-house to coordinate the meetings, the reporting, to liaise with the inspectors, and help coordinate when violations are found. So it's a multifaceted position. It's not just taking minutes and preparing agendas. Things that take place all the time. The health inspector comes in and works every other day when she's here. She's in with the Board of Health Secretary based on whatever the findings are, organizing the flu clinic, organizing the contracts, investigating other potential contracts. And now with what the state changed and abolished the ASPCA, now we're more involved with the animal cruelty, and that's put in working with the police department, municipal law enforcement, humane officer, and the county of Bergen.
Please.
And she prepares the budget.
So, Liza, actually, something you said is exactly Max's earlier point. If the state laws change, it shouldn't result in an automatic stipend increase because the state laws changed. It
No,
should
this
be
is new this
whatever,
year.
no, I'm just saying, whatever the state laws are, you are required to abide by them in this position.
Yeah.
If they change from year to
Is there
year,
an increase?
that is part of your job. If
Well,
the
Is
next year's.
there's no
report-
increase in this.
I understand,
given
but I'm
that,
saying,
Yeah,
in general, we've
if
been
the
giving
state
stipends.
abolishes more and more and puts it on municipalities as an unfunded mandate, then especially when, like a licensed position, say, such as myself or Susan, it comes with the territory. You have the license, you take the responsibility.
And that's how I feel like, that, this $2,500 should cover all
Huh?
changes in all laws. She shouldn't get
Yeah, there's no,
$3,500 next year
No.
because the state law changed.
no, it won't,
And I've seen that
it will not.
trend.
Yeah, so,
You also do run the risk of, if you cut these things out or cut them down, you may not have somebody volunteering to do the job, and then we have a problem. Then you have to go outside to pay somebody to do the job, and it's gonna cost you a lot more. I'm not suggesting that's the case here, but we're hiring somebody outside to do the HPC, and I'm not, that's your
we
decision,
will
that's
do
fine.
inside now.
Huh?
We're doing inside.
Who's paying, who's getting paid?
We're gonna, it's in the budget to do it inside.
I'm gonna see if somebody's interested.
Yeah,
We
we,
do it.
is that is
This
gonna
is-
put it out.
This is the big question, is somebody gonna be interested?
We'll see. It's a fairly good amount of money,
What
$2,500.
do you mean, someone interested in doing what?
An employee to be the HPC secretary.
Oh, I see.
We
For
decided not to go,
$2,500.
yes, $2,500, it's a good amount to change for somebody to do that. I'm not gonna be the one to start pushing on that one. You ask the council what they wanna do, and whatever they wanna do, I'm the bad guy all the time.
It's in the, I'm
But you do
sorry?
that so well.
You
Yeah.
have to think about, so I'm gonna have to say something, because when you start doing things like this where it's not that much money, you're gonna decrease morale,
I know we will.
and that's not a good thing.
I know, and I said from the beginning, everything we're gonna do now, rewriting all the job description and make them compare, to make sure that it's gonna be decreasing morale. And I agree with her. I said it from the beginning. So whatever you wanna do, I'm gonna back.
Mark and then,
Lauren was first.
Okay.
So, I understand your point, Susan, but this year alone, with the different changes in title, we have given out $2,500 to the new executive assistant to the borough clerk. We've given out 3 different and that's a stipend for supply clerk. We've given out 3 different stipends in finance. We've given out stipends
Well,
in
mine was an
DPW
A.
for clean communities. Those are 2
It was-
different stipends.
Yeah.
We have now given out, these other additional stipends to the people who attend our meetings. So the stipends are
So what is the suggestion? So people are
It's not
saying,
just one, it's
No.
the
People are
culmination of
suggesting-
all of them.
I'm not
you
saying
want to
about
eliminate
adding,
this stipend?
No,
wait, I
we
just
wanna
wanna say
reduce it.
something.
I'm not
You're
gonna say
taking it
anymore.
away now.
What do you want
That's
to
a
do?
problem.
You're one voice out of six, a loud one, but you're,
Taking this
you
one
know,
away.
That's not
you
what
speak
he
for.
wants to
Peter.
equalize it depending on 6 meetings or 12
But
meetings.
this
But that-
person already has it, and now you're gonna take it away.
Yeah.
Has
That
had it for
becomes
years.
a problem. It's different about when you talk about adding things, but when you start taking things away, that's a problem.
I'm not suggesting you
And I'm
give
not
it
saying
an
that-
increase,
No.
I'm
but
not
I think
saying
you should
that,
leave it the way it is.
I'm not saying that it
It's,
might, the 6
it's
meetings, I get your
exorbitant
point.
for the 6
We,
meetings, that's
we
all.
don't really know what
But it
else
wasn't
she's
absorbent
doing,
last year?
but
We
that's
didn't
happening.
have
They do
really
it
a
this
chance
year.
to look at it last
Now
year.
you
Well,
We,
that's what she has for
we did not do, this year is the first time when
Those
we
are
look at
planned.
the unclassified. This is the first time that we changed.
Mark, you
Okay.
had your hand up.
Yeah, so my question is, are we arguing about the value of the work people are doing or the amount we're paying them?
The money we pay, that's the only thing.
Someone's got a $2,500 stipend and now we're gonna cut it in half, or they have 5,000 and we're gonna cut it in half. I happen to agree. Going forward, I'm okay with doing away with stipends going forward. If we wanna have a new process and a new employee manual and different compensation structure so that all their compensation covers everything, I think that makes sense, going forward, okay? But if we're going to just like arbitrarily start cutting stipends because we think this one is too high, but this one isn't, and we're just kind of guessing about it, I think we're gonna have a morale problem to your point,
It's gonna be a
Susan's
big morale
point.
problem.
And it's gonna create problems that are gonna go beyond whatever we're saving.
You're
So,
talking
but
about
moving, but I want,
$200 a
Peter,
month.
Peter, I just wanna
Sorry.
finish. But moving forward, I'm fine ending the stipend process and including their pay in whatever that means. Okay, so I think we have to
I'm
think it
okay with you,
through.
I'm always very rough on budgets, but, so I agree with whatever the council agrees.
So we move forward, we move forward to address this situation, I think that makes sense. I don't believe we should do just a last minute kind of cut and chop. I think that we're asking for problems.
Okay, let's see what else there is.
The only is the assessor.
So, well, let's finish with this one. So, I mean,
I have another
we have two, I've heard two ideas. One is to leave it the way it is, the other is to cut it. How much it's supposed to be cut, I don't know.
Well, my leave it the way it is also, we need to look into how we're doing this in the future so that we change
Well,
it.
but, we're trying to finalize the budget. The
Right,
number
okay.
there is 2,500. Do we leave it or do we change it? Do you want to leave it, Mark?
I'm okay with leaving it for this year.
Okay. Lauren?
I think that the Board of Health does do work in between the 6 meetings, and I would like to leave it.
Dan?
Leave it,
Jeff?
and then look at titles next year.
Vanu? And Vanu, I'll go the other way next time, so so you don't feel like it doesn't. Max doesn't need to vote, he already agreed with the council.
I agree
He
with
wasn't
the
sure what they
council,
were
yeah.
gonna say, but he agreed with it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say no.
I was gonna say, I fully support changing the job descriptions to be
Yeah.
broader for
And,
all changes
what-
to state
That's right.
statutes,
So,
state laws,
And look at the
regulations.
structure,
That makes sense.
and
So-
look at the, Lizette, to
So-
put together a structure, how would she run the borough if she was to start from scratch? Yeah,
Right.
and then
New
we'll
job
work.
descriptions, we have 11 new positions here.
Yeah.
It's perfectly reasonable.
All right, let's go to
Let's see if
the
there's
next
anything
item,
else.
folks, as we plod
Okay, we
along.
talked about the
21.
police.
The next item is the,
Assessor.
Assessor.
Yeah,
Let's
you're
give her
up
the
to the
floor and
assessor.
give her new job description.
I don't wanna be the
You're
first to
going to
start.
agree with the council again?
No, I'm not gonna be, I don't wanna be the first
Think
to
it through.
start.
Makes a lot of
Okay.
sense.
I've been trying to.
Guys, Max had his hands up.
Whatever's left of
They're
it.
going down.
Because he wants to compare.
Okay,
That's what I was gonna say.
folks, so Susan,
This
what was
sucks.
recommended and what did the council, where are we at on the assessor
Tax
side?
assessor?
Yes.
Tax assessor.
Okay, so,
What the assessor requested was a $20,000 increase, and that was with regards to.
Hold on, let's wait for everybody, because rather than have to repeat it, you should bring the box out more.
okay.
Hold on.
So,
Wait, please, because absolutely nobody is giving you attention.
What else is new?
And you deserve it.
Well, except for Max, he's paid.
Don't put it next to me.
I always pay attention to
She
you.
said she's making more than that, but she wasn't.
1 second. Mark, take it off the table. It's right on the TV screen.
Jan-
That was for deputy.
This is where
Wait,
Janet.
whose handwriting was on top?
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
When you folks are ready,
Mine.
We're doing math over here to figure
all
out
right, so we'll wait.
percentages. So
Okay.
Dan's been crunching numbers over here.
Laura? No.
And twirling this pencil. Adelini, please, take the pen
As
away.
deputy.
Oh, yeah, that's your job now.
Let's describe to her as her.
If you write this on to agenda
It's gonna have to be in the
that's what you
description,
see.
Max.
He's running in
Take
front of
Dan's
the
pen
camera.
away.
It's so distracting.
Okay. I think that we are still,
All right.
So where are they coming from?
When
what
you
was the
vote,
recommendation?
well, hold on, when everybody's ready.
I should not put it in the spot.
So it's one.
Okay.
Okay.
She's got one.
Lisette has the floor.
Well,
Sorry, Jane.
the tax assessor requested, and you have it in your books, an increase of about 20,000 for a salary of about 110,878.34.
Versus-
There's
Her-
a mistake there, by the way. It should be 110,378. I think there's actually a typo here.
Well, why, no, you know what it is, there's
378.
longevity on there. That's her salary.
Salary.
The 20,000 would be on the base.
Oh, because,
And then-
right, so the base, so in 2019, your CFO recommended was 88378, not 88878.
Where?
Go to your recommendation page, under 2019, 88378,
Right.
334. Now flip to her 110,878
No,
instead of
that's because
378.
it changes the
Changes the-
longevity.
the
The
Given the
longevity is,
$500.
Yeah.
the
Okay.
longevity is a
Fine,
percentage on top of
just
it.
checking.
Yeah.
So, and she had based that, based on activity with assessments, with conducting the COA calculations, and she provided a survey of of a couple of other municipalities, some where the COA calculations are done in-house, and those that retain whether they're appraisal service or a different firm to do it. In the recommended budget, I put in what the CFO numbers were, and every department has an opportunity to come and make a presentation to justify, because the ultimate decision is of the governing body. I was requested to do a survey myself, and I reached out to my county association as well as my state association, and I only received 3 responses. 2 of them were only part-time assessors, and the only full-time assessor was Teaneck, who was appointed in 1998 and makes $139,103. And that's a population of over 40,000. So that's the only statistical data I was able to obtain.
Mark?
So, one of the benefits we have when things change, like a chief retires, or not, or a captain retires, and it leaves an opening, and we have a new police officer start at a much lower rate of pay. We manage our money part of the way by benefiting from retirements, right? And then we have new
Correct.
people come and they take time to move up the pay scale ladder. And so something like this, I think the CFO's recommendation, whether it's this exact number or a little bit different number, is probably the appropriate way to go, right? Because we're benefiting we want to benefit that ladder as the years go on, and not on day one pay the maximum amount.
They do not.
Laura?
So I did some numbers here. A 5% raise, which is actually a little less than what we gave the recreation director, would be $4,332 to bring her to $90,977. A 10% raise would be $8,645 to bring her to $95,309.50. So the highest raise then would be, that would, obviously be the biggest jump in salary. So a 5 to a 10% raise would still be, look, so the 110, or the $20,000 difference, becomes almost a 25% raise. And that's her request, is for basically a 25% raise. I think we should bring her a little closer to market, but I don't necessarily think we should give a 25% raise to any one employee.
Like she's requested.
Did you recommend?
I recommended
Stay with
the contractual 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No?
I agree. I mean, I think we should bring it to the same level as the recreation director, and that would be 91,480.
I'd have to go back and just see, you have to put this on the base, and on top of the base is 12.5% every year.
Yeah, I didn't include the longevity in those numbers, by the way.
Okay,
Those are
But the
just
longevity is
So
included.
how does
you-
But
the
it's like
recreation
that's
director?
just base.
She doesn't get
She doesn't get
longevity.
longevity.
No.
So
So-
hers is a straight 5.6.
Mhm.
And there's a $2,500 stipend here too. Not that it
Right.
should be a huge difference, but there is a
So I can
stipend
go
here.
back and look at her
From
current.
the
I
jet.
think that her
Yeah.
job description did not change. When she was hired, she had these responsibilities. She got the responsibilities. She's doing the work. She is claiming that there are 250 additional houses. Last year, well, probably 40 houses. Maybe next year it's gonna be only 10 houses, so it'll be the different story with the co-op. I think that we should stay with the CFO and the administrator for recommendation without
That's
any
just
additional
what it
increases.
was.
Yeah.
Well,
wasn't a recommendation.
No, I
It was
don't
just my-
disagree with what Max says, but, and I think that Manu and Lauren's meeting of the minds is a generous thing. So I think the choice,
In order to come up with
A
a
good
fully
number.
informed decision,
I'm gonna go get the
Susan has to
base
get the
number.
base,
I'm gonna
because
look at the
any
base
changes to the
Okay.
Okay.
base,
Base
the change would be
affects-
on the
yeah.
base, and then the
Okay.
longevity is
Longevity.
compounded upon.
I
And-
didn't add
and-
longevity.
Yes.
And I do
I didn't
want
feel
to
longevity.
actually
I'm gonna-
ask about the stipend.
How many years have you been-
Should that be included? I mean, I don't think
Jen's
just
been here a
the
long time.
stipend on top.
91, since 91.
She's been here since '91.
been different. She's a long-term employee. But obviously, her job changed when Carol retired.
Can I ask, I understand our borough administrator who did this contract isn't here, but maybe, Mayor, you remember in the contract negotiations to hire this tax assessor, was the salary negotiated?
The tax assessor, you're talking
To
about,
move her to this position?
Move
To
her
move
up
this-
to-
this-
She moved
Remember
from
from the
65 to
deputy.
86.
Was there a salary negotiation?
Yeah, we moved them from 65 to 86. She got $21,000 increase when she got it, and now she wants another $20,000. I think that you are overly generous.
I think so.
She already got $20,000 increase for the job, and nothing changed since then.
I'd be curious to know how long, she gave us some comparables of other certified tax
Free-
assessors.
It's a free world.
Right,
How long
exactly.
they have held
Well,
that position.
I think it's
on,
a very,
it's a
this is
column
one,
that might be there.
one position that's
No,
very
I don't have
difficult
here
to
that came
compare
up.
various towns.
Right, and so I
Oh,
don't
I'm
think
sorry,
we should
you're right,
actually
you're
be
right.
looking at.
I agree, I don't think that chart
They've all
showed
been
me
here for
anything.
over
Right,
10 years
because-
in this chart, at least, because the latest one is 2006, and they're getting 114, and that's 12 years in that position, getting 114.
Remember, those are cherry pick positions to show
But
that.
my point is, I don't think
Right.
she's been in this position, in this role, for a significant amount of time to compare these salaries to her.
Then why do you ask for an increase?
I was telling you what I calculated. I was
Yeah,
saying
but
the
what-
numbers.
He's a
Why,
softie.
why are you then,
To show the numbers and compare them if we want to consider anything.
what was your recommendation?
I don't have a recommendation yet.
Oh, you don't have a
I
recommendation?
thought I heard one.
I thought so too, that's why I
No,
was.
I said I was
I
not
saw
going to
also
agree to a
3.
25% raise.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
thought,
only thing
I thought you said you were willing to give her the same percentage you gave the rector.
Yes,
No,
that's
I was
what.
saying-
No, she
no,
was
I-
just,
that's
she
not what
was
I
just
said. I
giving
was
the
comparing
numbers,
to.
the
Okay.
5% and the 10%.
Thank you.
I think
Some
I
of
thought I
us
heard you
I think
agree.
I gave, no,
Okay,
I
no,
gave
I
the
had the same
5.6%.
impression that,
Thank you.
yeah, okay. So we have, so far, Mark and I, that we said stay the same, and so is Dan.
I am
Stay the same.
I'm going to propose giving the
Jeff will stay
5%
the
raise
same, so
and
we
put
have
her at
4.
90.
Okay, there are 4 people that stays the same. Just stays.
My
We're not-
proposal is to give the 5%.
We're not waiting for Susan to come back?
If it's, the 4
which is
people say stays the same.
$4,000.
And I'm asking those 4 people, you're not waiting for Susan to
we
come
all
back?
wait.
Is this the off year for longevity for her or the on year?
It depends what her hire date
91.
is. No, that she would, no, she's maxed out. It's,
Yeah, you're
once
underpaid.
you hit 12.5%, that's it. And if you're here any additional years, it stays at
No,
12.
that's gotta be base.
I would be comfortable.
No, the
Just
salary,
give
the
the
salary
director
sheet
5%.
Should include it.
includes longevity for those
So
who
is that
have
your
longevity.
recommendation?
My recommendation is to give the 5% which is
Wait,
$4,332, brings her to, without longevity, to 9097.
That might not be a true
77.
5%, you have to wait for Susan's
Right, so
number.
Susan has to give me the longevity number.
And
Plus
take
she
out
gets
the
a
stipend.
$2,500
Take out the
stipend.
stipend.
The stipend is given by the JIF.
It's
No,
not
it's
given
not
by the
given by
JIF.
the JIF.
No,
It's
no,
for
we
serving-
pay.
By us.
We pay
for
it.
It's given by us for the JIF.
So we're just moving like marbles around a table, taking it out here, putting it back there.
Yeah, she still has to go to the
Listen,
JIF meetings.
How often does
It was
that
part
pay?
of her job
Quarterly.
description when she was hired.
Yes.
I'm just
Not
gonna
by
say-
budget.
You agreed to give her the money, though.
Look, we just agreed very strongly to
Yeah.
give a recreation director 5.6% raise. This is the tax assessor who deals with every piece of property in our borough. It is an important position, she knows what she's doing, she's competent. If we had to start from scratch, we would have a vacancy, we would be way behind them.
They're all
Don't
important.
want.
I
Every
understand the
department,
importance.
every
I find the
Don't
tax
want to
assessor
have to
incredibly
replace her.
important.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
wanna have to replace her.
First of all, I'm the one who deals most closely with the assessor.
Okay,
And I dealt with Carol for my whole tenure here, right? When Carol was here, we essentially had, by the time we reached the later years of Carol's employment, we essentially had two assessors. The workload on Carol was definitely lightened by the fact that Janet had so many years of experience. You can't say that she's only been in this position since we
Okay.
promoted her, because she essentially was an assessor. We had the benefit of having two assessors.
that's a very good point.
She, at this point, I think, looking at what other assessors make, because a lot of assessors are part-time, they work for multiple towns, they make a lot more when you add together their towns. They make more than 110, 120 a year. Janet is our only real source as an assessor right now. When she's not around, she's still grooming Sharon. Sharon needs years, she doesn't have the years that Janet had working closely with Carol, learning everything about it. Janet's got a heavy workload. The workload of assessors has increased over the years, as she's probably pleaded to you, that she has a lot more work to do, and she doesn't have as much time to groom an assistant assessor. All right, so keep that in mind. We don't want to lose Janet, because you want an assessor that has knowledge of the town. It's very difficult for someone who hasn't been in a town for a long time to understand the different neighborhoods, the different values, for the different neighborhoods. You really need an experienced assessor in your town. We would have a problem if we lost her. So don't risk losing her.
Well, what do you have, Susan, for us?
Okay, her base
Stipend.
with the 2% this year is 78, 558, 52.
Wait, go slow, 'cause I wanna
Okay.
see.
78.
558.52. And then, with the longevity, as shown on the salary sheet, it comes to 378.34. So anything that you give her in percentage for an increase would be added to her base, and then the 12.5% would be on top of that.
Okay, so she's not gonna leave the current 12%.
So, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
If you,
Okay,
whatever
if you
raise
increase-
you give, it would be on the
12% of the-
78,000
And
number,
then
and then
the
longevity.
So
is added.
78,558 is the base salary.
Right,
So actually, all my numbers are wrong.
right, you have to
So I have
longevity.
to take out longevity to do the percentage of the raise.
Mm-hmm.
So just out of curiosity.
That's what.
So what would, I mean, Lizette, can I hear from you on this?
Mhm.
I understand that you've kept it to the 2% plus longevity. Can you elaborate a little?
Because the way the justification was presented
Mm-hmm.
had to deal with statutory authority, statutory conditions. And as a statutory employee, this, whenever the state has a whim, most of the time they put it on the clerk's license or on the CFO's license. So that would be setting a precedent. It's one thing if somebody's working outside their job title. There's another thing where if your job title has a license, whatever the state comes up with is all encompassing with the license.
What about her argument that she's not comparable to the rest of the market?
Bigger towns.
You can't compare the towns.
town
Paramus,
is
the
different.
population is higher, and then you're dealing with all the malls. We don't have that here.
Fair Lawn?
Shine.
Each town is
Okay.
different.
Well,
Everyone's got
each
40,000
of
people.
these are
We
bigger
are-
towns.
All of them are
3
big
times,
towns.
And-
all of them are 3
You said
times, 3 times.
Cresthill, Dumont.
Yeah, Cresco and Dumas, they have.
But those are
Were you
part-time.
So
You
somebody was
ever-
supposed to come back with Dumont.
Right, you're supposed to come
They
back with a
didn't,
payroll
they didn't
time.
give, I sent it out to the county, association, and
They
only
have part-times.
3 responded, 2 of them are part-times and only full-time, like I had mentioned,
So what is
is Tina.
part-time?
Most of
I-
the towns are part-timers.
So what is part-time? Why do you get part-time?
I would have to go and take the printout that I have and
Yeah,
look at it.
I think Dumont
Can we
has,
grab that?
Yeah, I'll go and
Dumont
grab
has a
it.
part-time.
I know one was
So I-
Rivervale, but
I think
don't
at
know
this
the other ones.
particular point, there's 2 options. One is to leave it at the 2%, which was recommended. The other is you want to give her the same increase that we gave the rec director, which is about 5%.
5.6.
Third option,
So what's the third option?
roll the stipend into her salary, into her base.
Well, that's not giving her an increase.
That doesn't
Yes, it
even give
does.
her the
Well,
other
it
2%.
nets out.
It
Just
does.
get- It
It's
nets out, but then she
2,000.
just gets
Base.
12.5% on top of the 2,500.
Right, she gets a
I
little
That's
bit
all
more.
she'll get.
She get $250 more.
And
It
it'll be
doesn't,
pensionable.
it really does not sit well for me to
There
give
it
a
is.
recreation director 5.6 and to say to our only tax assessor, we can't match.
Mark, what do you
But
think?
is the only,
What,
so
what?
everybody, every department head should now say, we'll match them?
We're not
She's saying
giving
her
any other
workload is
department.
doubled.
This is the last one we're considering. Mark,
So to bring up the rec director, I am
$1,000 difference.
supporting Lisette's decision and her recommendation, as I did with the rec director also in this particular case. So I support Lisette saying 2% increase, and that's that.
okay, Lauren, you're for the 5. Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, 2%.
I'm sorry?
My suggestion would be to roll the stipend in.
Well, I
For
don't,
base.
we're not gonna consider.
But no, he's saying,
I
give them a
under- I
little
understand.
bit by throwing that stipend, you give a little bit, she gets $700 out of it. Because it
No,
gets
she-
into
she's gotta-
pension.
She's gotta pay tax on it. too.
Yeah, but it what gets
She would
into
get
the,
$312.50.
That's what she's saying, I'm just saying.
5% is
Okay.
$3,970.
So you wanna leave it at 2%?
So,
2% with the roll another stipend.
all right.
I said
Mr.
5%,
Jeff.
which is 3,970.
She's getting the
2%
payment on the
that rolling
stipend.
this
Yeah.
Without.
15, so it'd be the balance.
The new,
She's getting the
Just
first
keep the
payment.
stipend.
I don't know what the numbers are. At
Then
this
it
point,
rolls into
you know,
the
because.
salary.
What,
it's
88?
not the
88?
5%.
Vinu, 88.
It would be with
88
that.
with the rolling in the
With the
stipend.
Without
longevity
rolling the stipend.
rings,
Oh,
no
wait,
gas.
91.
Rolling the stipend to the
This is
base.
5%
Yeah.
with longevity.
That's
I
longevity,
would,
12%
I
on
would
top of it.
suggest, if you can't make up your mind, we pay our administrator and our CFO for their knowledge.
But no, we
No,
can't, we
it's
can't
not a
make, you didn't
question
ask
of
me
not
to.
making
Well, no,
up our mind,
but
it's
I'm
a matter
getting
of
3
knowing what the
different
numbers
answers.
are.
One
The
says 5%,
5%.
one says
No, no, we had,
$1.
you didn't get, it's 2%, stay with 2%, 5%,
Yeah,
it's another
longevity.
2%,
Right.
it's another
Well,
2%.
No,
On
but
top of it,
but
and then you give her stipend.
I didn't, Mark,
Yes.
he wants to leave it
And it's usually
the,
assessed
Yeah.
with the-
2%.
not rolling it over.
Yeah, no rolling over.
So we'll leave it at 2%,
Yeah,
not roll it
that's what
over.
it, that's what the majority says.
Longevity.
Okay,
Status
Susan?
quo.
Her,
Yeah,
her
I-
5% is really $3,927.
All right, so the majority was at 2%.
2%, we're not gonna roll it in.
You vote?
No. I mean, you
He's used to
you
not
guys
voting.
voted, right?
All right,
Next.
Yeah, it was
Anything else?
4 to 1.
anything else?
Folks,
I agreed on this one.
I think we're done.
Okay, thank
Let's
you.
move on to the rest of the, no, we actually
Did you want
haven't.
me to bring up balance point? No, this is something you want me to do.
What else is it,
Yes or
Susan?
no?
Susan, what else?
You told me to.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
she negotiated the contract, she knew she was getting.
This is with regards to the personnel manual.
Okay,
The what?
The personnel
Personnel
manual.
manual.
HR consulting.
Okay.
The personnel manual.
So our payroll provider is Balance Point,
yeah.
and I had a conversation with them since the last meeting, and they do prepare an employee manual, and what they look at the latest changes to employment law in the last 2 years, they keep it updated.
Yeah.
They will give a new employee handbook that will be customized to our borough. Policies and procedures will be customized to our borough as well. They roll it out. They also get every employee to sign it. That's something that we do in-house, which is a pain in the neck. We,
But we pay them to do that. We do it in-house, we don't have to pay somebody to do it.
well, let me tell
Yeah,
you,
let
that's
them
the
finish it,
thing.
let them
What's done
finish it.
in-house is making sure everybody signs
So
it.
people don't
That's it.
try to.
Yeah, and?
They do ongoing maintenance. If there's any updates, they update as needed.
Yeah,
That's an unlimited amount of times.
yeah.
To create a new handbook, the cost would be $2,500, and there's a $500 annual fee.
Different, we can't.
I think it's fantastic.
Just one point, Mark,
Yes,
you're the veteran here, you've served, I think you've been here 9 years, right?
something like that.
Okay. So, we suffered for many years, even though we didn't know we were suffering,
Yeah.
with an employee handbook that wasn't up to date
Yeah.
and was basically too many holes in it. The labor attorney that we hired redid the book. Now, obviously, the biggest factor, or one of the biggest factors is the cost. Labor attorney obviously is much, much more expensive. The question I have for Lizette, that I think everybody needs to hear the answer is, do we have, I'm concerned that when we hire a firm like this, the employee handbook is almost like a generic. They change it generically. How carefully they look at what we have versus what we should have is, in my mind, questionable. Okay? What the labor attorney did was, he started at square one and brought it up to date. I mean, and it needs to keep changing. Are you confident that you will provide, and Susan will provide, enough input into this company's work that our employee handbook will continue to evolve to where we want it to be?
Well, I asked our labor attorney I gave him the copy of the handbook that they prepared, plus the records policy, and listed all the statutory changes to include, and I asked for a price. I did not get an answer on that. And the difference is like, it's taking what we have already and updating it. It's not starting from scratch from the little green book
Right.
that was half the size of this pad, and putting in all the applicable changes, whether state law to comply with contracts. If we do decide to give it to Balance Point, they're working with a very solid foundation. They won't be taken away from what we already have. They would just be adding and updating, and by having the annual maintenance fee, we would be